What is a force majeure clause? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm a business law and estate planning attorney with offices in Minnesota and New York. Today we're going to talk about force majeure clauses. It's a provision that should be in your contract and probably has been for years, but you never really thought about it. So the first question my clients ask me when they've heard about it is, what exactly is a force majeure clause? It's a clause in your contract that deals with unforeseen events. So years ago, we put force majeure clauses into our contracts that had things that we weren't ever sure would happen. Things like acts of God, revolutions, global pandemics. Now, for years, we never had to worry about these. But the last couple of years have obviously shown us that a global pandemic can really change our economic future. And once that pandemic hit, a lot of clients came to my office saying, what do I do now? And one of the first places we looked was a force majeure clause. The reason we look for this clause is it specifically says if one of these catastrophic events happens, can either or both party get out of the contract that they signed. So there's four main elements to any force majeure clause. The first is, what is the breach that allows you to not perform? So, for example, you can say that you're not able to fulfill the parts order. We have supply chain issues. We can't get the raw materials we need to provide you with the product. The second is, what events does it cover? Now, this is where traditionally we had boilerplate, basic language with the same act of God and insurrection and random events that we never thought would happen. A lot of people did not have in their contracts, however, a global pandemic or even an endemic. So now what we're seeing is, since 2020, our force majeure clauses have been edited to include a global pandemic. We want to have the pandemic covered so that if you're unable to get those raw materials and perform for your clients, you're not then left on the hook to pay money to your clients because you were unable to get your products from overseas. The third part of any force majeure clause is how these two are connected. So when we're looking at a supply chain issue, the force majeure clause will connect the fact that I get steel from India that I then sell to you. If I can't get that steel from India because the pandemic has shut down all of the shipping lanes from India to my company, then I'm unable to provide the steel to you. And then the final provision is what happens. So in the event that one of these unforeseen events happens, this global pandemic is hit, what happens under the contract? Can one party get out of the contract? Can the other party get out of the contract? Does anybody owe anybody any money or any time? Or what happens, frankly, when the pandemic is hit and you're unable to perform due to a force majeure clause? Hopefully, the last few years have taught you why you would need a force majeure clause in your contracts. And if you haven't had to run into supply chain issues, if the pandemic or something else hasn't affected your ability to run your business, that is great. That's fantastic for you. But a lot of businesses are not in that same predicament. A lot of them have had a lot of problems fulfilling contractual orders because of supply chain issues due to the pandemic. So if you don't have a force majeure clause in your contract, now is a great time to take a look at it. There's two ways you can try to do this. The first way is you can try to create one yourself, which may or may not be the best idea. If you've spent all this time and money on a nice contract, the second way to do it, the better way to do it, is work with your attorney. Work with professionals who create contracts for a living, and we can make sure that that force majeure clause is properly tailored to you and your business. Rather than just a generic act of God provision, we can have specific force majeure clauses that deal with you, your business, your industry, and what actually happens between you and your parties if there is one of these unforeseen events. If you don't have anyone to talk to or you want to get your contracts revised, let's hop on the phone. Go to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red button on the front page where you can schedule a legal strategy session. We can talk for 20 minutes and go over your contracts, go over your provisions, and see where we can improve them to make sure that the force majeure clause is the correct one for you and your business.